6 a.m. and take the bus to California Avenue in downtown Denver and take the light rail all the way down to Centennial to get there by about 9. Most of my job dealt with actually serving delegates, so I had the opportunity to meet a lot of prominent people from my home state, the current governor, 2 former governors, every congressman, both of our senators, a lot of the staffers that work for the New Jersey State Committee. And the purpose of me actually, I was not placed with that job through the Washington Center. I had to go out and kind of finagle my way into that job, which is what I've learned in some sort that working in the political arena is about. I'm sure some other people in the room could attest to that. But I went to get that job to kind of enhance my research component, and I'm just going to point out right now that the data I'm about to show you is no longer in any way relevant. It was actually only relevant for about 6 days. As soon as Hillary Clinton bowed out of the Democratic primary, the data was irrelevant. But I'm going to go through it briefly anyhow, just to show you guys that I might have actually deserved the grade that I got in political methodology. So, technology is killing me today. Okay. So what we have here is a list of every single Democratic superdelegate in the United States of America, with the exception of Florida and Michigan, because at the time that I compiled this data, none of them had been seated yet, so I did not see the need to include them in this. But the purpose of my project was to effectively see if the Democratic superdelegate system was or was not, in fact, democratic. Is there anybody in the room, just real quick, is there anybody who's unfamiliar with how the Democratic superdelegate system works? Okay. Effectively what they do, the Democratic Party does this much more than the Republican Party does. There are pledged delegates. There's a certain number per state based on congressional representation and things like that. It's by population. Then there are superdelegates, which are what I like to refer to as the party elite. The governor of the state, the senators, the congress people, the members of the Democratic National Committee who reside within the state. They get to vote for whatever candidate they want, aside from how the actual popular vote goes down in their state. And this, I mean, I personally had a problem with it, which is why I designed my project the way I did, because you could say this entire congressional district that covers this part of Whittier, California, could have theoretically voted in large majority for Hillary Clinton. And the superdelegate, the congressperson from this district, could have voted for Barack Obama. They cancel each other out. So what I did was I went through, got a list by state, by name, what position they were, and I'll go through this in the PowerPoint, who they initially put their endorsement out for prior to Hillary Clinton bowing her name out of the primary. This was after the last primary, before she had formally dropped out. And then whether or not it went with or against their constituency. And just for some other clarification, I'm going to kind of jump back and forth. That's the screen at the DNC, the giant wall in the back. That was the first time they turned it on. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning. Where is the mouse? There it is. Okay. So this is just a real quick summary process. Analyze superdelegate votes compared against the constituencies they represent in their office. For the purpose of identifying the constituencies, how people were judged on a standard, the Democratic National Committee members were judged on a state level. It's a statewide representation. Governors and senators were also judged on or analyzed on a statewide representation, and then congressional representatives were analyzed based on their actual congressional district. The official list of superdelegates was retrieved from the Democratic National Committee. The official voting records were then compared against the popular vote of every single state, minus Florida and Michigan. And then I coded the data based on that. What I effectively came up with, and I'm just including, Michigan and Florida delegates are not included because they were not seated at the time, but 417 superdelegates voted with their constituencies. So say this district was won by Hillary Clinton, then the congressperson who was a superdelegate for this district also voted with Hillary Clinton. 302 superdelegates voted against their constituencies. So this would be an instance like in Massachusetts, Hillary Clinton carried the popular vote for the entire state, but Deval Patrick through his superdelegate support behind Barack Obama. That would be the discrepancy. Thank you. So based on that, 42% of all superdelegates analyzed in my study, at least in the 6-day window of relevance, actually voted against their constituencies. So while it's not more than half, it is a sizable amount of Democratic superdelegates who did not vote with their people. Now we're going to get into some photos. That was just the research. I'm sorry if that bored you, but I spent a lot of time doing that, and no one's ever seen it before, so forgive me. This is Democratic National Chairman Howard Dean. It's very tough to tell because blackberries do not take the best pictures. That was from the Washington Center. We got a little talk from him about how our generation has the ability to influence change in our world, and that we should all get on board. This is from the floor. That's Joe Biden giving his vice presidential nomination acceptance. This is kind of a funny story because, as you'll see, this is my Wednesday night credential. It says arena and it's orange. And myself and one of my coworkers decided to test the security that they had at the Pepsi Center and see how long we could stay on the floor. And luckily, we stayed down there all night and got some really cool pictures and didn't get any. I had the privilege of helping the former governor of the state of New Jersey, a gentleman by the name of Brandon Byrne. He does not know how to use a computer, and so he was writing articles for the TriStar Ledger, and came into the office, and I would transcribe what he said every day and send them off for him. And this particular email was something I really liked. Okay. All the world may not be a stage, but the Denver Convention Center certainly is. Everything programmed to the last word and last sentence. If you're in a convention center, you're so far away from the action that you can really only watch it on a TV. I wanted to get what might be a last look at Ted Kennedy because he still inspires me and did last night, letting us all know that the dream lives. The Kennedys historically could do that, and the Obama comparison is constantly made. To me, that was the highlight of the evening, though Michelle Obama won the audience with an inspiring presentation. She convinced us that she would make a great First Lady. The ordeal of getting from our hotel to the convention center and then watching it on the TV raises questions as to whether the over-hour trip is worth it. In person, none of the speakers is more than 6 inches tall, at least from where we sit. We cannot bring our own water into the hall, and the few free water fountains serve at room temperature. The real value of this convention for Ruthie and me, Ruthie is his wife, getting to know the people better from New Jersey who are here and whom you hadn't seen for a while. There's a whole new generation about to replace us who will do things better, sooner, and with greater efficiency, and that makes the trip worthwhile. The best line of the day, George Bush, once and for all, has destroyed the myth of white supremacy. Former New Jersey Governor Brandon Byrne. I think he's 87 years old, but he's still kicking. But that was the favorite, that was my favorite thing doing as far as work goes. As far as learning goes, I think I never really considered myself to be affiliated with a political party. And as a political science major, I've gotten a lot of trouble for that. But I mean, before going to work, the DNC, I worked for a Republican congressional candidate from New Jersey. And what I think going to the DNC has taught me to do is actually to increased my ability to view politics in more of an objective light, to not consider things on a party line value, and it's kind of what Dan's saying about the liberal left and the conservative right and things like that, but to look at what is actually going on, what the intention is, and what the outcome would be, and make my decisions and hold my values from that. And going to this convention, especially through the Washington Center, I mean, 90% of the kids in the program were hardcore college Democrats, and they kind of looked at the few of us who weren't differently. I didn't really talk about political affiliation, seeing as I was working with people who were paid by the Democratic Party to work. But with this, and contrasting with my other internship experience, I learned how to sit in the middle and kind of be comfortable with that. And that's done a lot for me in terms of personal development as an individual.